So I can't tell you how happy I am to be here for this session. That's my primary emotion right now. Um, these week-long retreats were a big part of my life, a big part of my practice, the biggest part of my life and practice for 20 years. I did 2 week-long retreats with the Roshis for that long. And I can just unequivocally say that it was the most important thing I've ever done in my life, is to do this retreat session practice. I have no idea. I can't imagine what my life, my being, my experience would be like if I didn't engage in this practice over these years. So I'm incredibly grateful to the practice and incredibly grateful to the Roshis for creating the space and giving me the guidance over all these years in this wonderful practice. As we all know, we've come to a milestone with this session. It's the final formal 7-day here at Maitreya Abbey. An ending of something, beginning of something else. I have a good family of emotions around this ending. The sadness that this beautiful space won't be used in this way. Gratitude, just boundless gratitude for everything that the Roshis have accomplished here, what they've given me, what they've created for the Sangha. And I have quite a bit of excitement and curiosity about how the Roshis' practice will unfold, how the Sangha, this Sangha's practice will unfold. I have to tell you that the Roshis have always been changing and transforming for as long as I've known them, constantly changing, transforming, and adapting. I can't say that the form of their practice was fixed for even a few months before some tweak or adjustment, sometimes small, sometimes big, has come in. This building was utterly transformed from the time they bought it, a decade ago, and it continues to be transformed. I've only been here a couple of times in the last 4 years, and still something major and new every time. Always with this incredible conscientiousness and meticulousness and sensitivity to what the change would bring, how it would support strong Zen practice. They've always kept going. It's Shishin Roshi's mantra, you could say. Just keep going. They've always kept going. But Roshi's mantra is just keep going. It isn't just keep going until you get there. It's keep going until you're gone. And then you keep going. And that's what they've done. This, I guess it's a mantra or gatha that we do for the meal practice, and it's in the Heart Sutra. For the work practice, and in the Heart Sutra, gate gate parasam gate. And translates as gone, gone, everyone gone to the other shore. Going to the other shore. The theme for my talk today is the Bardo. This has been the theme for my Ango period with my Sangha in Boulder. So I've been practicing with this quality of the Bardo, and I'll say what that is and talk about how we experience the Bardo and how we can practice with the Bardo. Not only the formal Bardo, which is that period between when one person dies and when they're reborn. It's kind of the technical definition, but not so much that as the bardos of our everyday life, how to practice with these. So please relax for this talk. We say with the Dharma talks, just take it in as if you're the only person in the room, and just take what there resonates for you. All right. I even invite you to relax. You can close your eyes if you like, and don't fall asleep. That wouldn't be best. But I invite you to take in my words as if in a dream. So I hope this talk is encouraging for you. That's my main intention when I give Dharma talks, is to encourage people in practice. I remember hearing a teacher responded. It was a contemporary teacher, and I'm forgetting who it was, but he was asked, what are you doing in your Dharma talks? What do you hope to accomplish? And he said, encouragement. And then the person asked him, what else? And he said, encouragement and encouragement. And I've taken that to heart, because I don't have a teaching or something to give you that you don't have yourself, but I can encourage you to seek to actualize it. Yesterday, Gyodo Sensei mentioned a question that he had asked Roshi a number of years ago. He said, let's see, the question was, I'm forgetting what the question was.
Don't inspire people, but transform.
Yeah. What Roshi said was, I'm not trying to inspire people, I'm trying to transform them. And this surprised me because I had never heard Roshi say that. And earlier today, I pulled him aside and I asked him if he said that. and he said he didn't remember it, but Yugen said he did. and then he said, and it's okay as long as it can inspire people. Okay. All right. What's a bardo? I found it to be such a rich topic for myself and my Sangha during this Angal period. So the formal bardo, the technical bardo, is, like I said, this period between one incarnation and another incarnation. So something happens to something in that period, in that realm. Okay. The Tibetan phrase for the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you might know, is the Bardo Thodol. I'm probably mangling that pronunciation. I don't speak Tibetan, and I couldn't find online how you pronounce that word, but it's spelled Bardo Thodol. So this Bardo is the in-between times, right? It's between one relationship and another. These are the everyday Bardos. Between one relationship and another, between one job and another, between one form of the Roshi's teaching and another, between one season of your life and another. It's the in-between times between phases of your day. Between waking and sleeping. Between zazen and eating. Between one step and the next. Between one breath and the next. My life these days has become full of these kind of weekly and monthly and seasonal bardos. I've inherited a family after getting married late in life and having a wife and kids, 5 stepkids, and being very active in my job. There's just so much transition. all the time. I've come to see, after avoiding it for decades, how kids and committed relationship force us into adjusting and not being fixed in our ways or our plans. So these kids are definitely keeping me on my toes. Whenever I think something is going to be this way and I've got it settled, not so much. And what a profound gift. I see it now. All the monks of old, never had the opportunity to practice with family and with kids, a relationship, or job, even, right? Poor monks. Lucky monks. Poor monks. So changes, yeah, phase to phase. This morning we chanted Trust in Heart Mind. One of the lines is, all changes in this empty world seem real because of ignorance. Now that's a powerful statement. All of these changes seem real because of ignorance. So they're unreal at some level. This is the heart of the matter. This is our practice point with the Bardo. So I'm going to cut to the chase around what I want to bring out here at the beginning and then kind of elaborate and share and appreciate about the Bardo. When we work with the Bardo of our body, you could say, at the breath to breath level, immediately intimate with body mind, and really stay with whatever is arising and shifting, and allow it to shift and allow it to move. Then we can handle all of those bigger changes. Change of job, change of situation, change of season, and even death. Slow kinhin is a wonderful practice of Bardo. One step, but what's in between? We take the in breath as the heel comes up, and the out breath as the heel goes down. But is it discrete? No, the other heel's coming up while the other foot is going down. So they merge into each other. Each phase kind of merges into each other. And what is continuous through the practice of slow kinhin? The breath. Really, I encourage you to pay meticulous attention to your kinhin, your slow kinhin especially. Can keep unwavering focus as the body moves forward and step follows step follows step, and the breath remains continuous. So bar, the first syllable of Bardo, means in between, or no man's land, no person's land. Right? It's the land that's possessed by no person, and it's the land in which no person exists. And do in Tibetan, it means a tower or an island in that no person's land. So the image that Trungpa Rinpoche gives is it's an island in the middle of a river. Quite an interesting, evocative image. So what is it that stands grounded in the midst of that change? That flowing, unfixed, in-between zone. What is it? What is continuous beneath the phenomena? You can actually look at that image and you can see that the island is continuous with the riverbed as it goes underneath the river, and then it's continuous with both shores. What is continuous through the Bardo? From state to state. It's not the self. Although the self wants to be that continuity. The self seeks that continuity as itself. Oh, if there's one word that I hope you'll remember from this talk, it's continuity. And maintain continuous practice. So Trungpa, I have several quotes from Trungpa Rinpoche, who I'm sure you're all familiar with throughout this talk. He being derived from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, he's done a lot with the Bardo, and he has an extensive series of teachings specifically on the Bardo of everyday life, not on the Tibetan Book of the Dead material, but this material. His main text on that is compiled, Transcending Madness is that title. So I've got a few quotes from him that I'll speckle in here. He says, generally all Bardo experiences are situations in which we have emerged from the past and we haven't yet formulated the future. But strangely enough, we happen to be somewhere. We are standing on some ground, which is very mysterious. Nobody knows how we happen to be there. So this is the case right now. Right now we're in a Bardo. So do you experience your life this way, as grounded in a mysterious reality? Continuously present on some mysterious ground? I want to look at our experience of Bardos and how to work with them in our practice. So what comes up when we face these Bardos, these transitions? So they can be very uncomfortable. That which is fixed is changing. We don't like change. We like fixity. There can be confusion, fear. We can feel anxious and unstable. We can also feel lonely, because Bardos are very private, or they can be, and often are very private, personal experiences. It's one reason we go unconscious in those in-between places, because they're unstable. We don't like that. So we go on autopilot, we go unconscious. So I'm going to bring in a koan from the Zen tradition that actually addresses the Bardo very directly, the formal Bardo. But I'm offering it not to get metaphysical about life and death, but about our point of practice. It says, Blue Cliff Record, Case 55, Dogo's condolence visit. There's two parts to this. I'm going to give you the first part and return to the second. So Dogo and Zengen came to a house to express their condolences. Zengen tapped on the coffin and said, "Is this life or death?" Dogo said, "I don't say life, I don't say death." Zengen said, "Why don't you?" Dogo said, "I won't say. I won't say." On the way back, Zengen said, "Master, please say it to me right away. If you don't, I shall hit you." Dogo said, "If you want to hit me, you can hit me, but I will never say." Thereupon Zengen hit him. Sometime later, Dogo passed away. Dogo was the teacher, Zengen's the student. Zengen went to Sekiso and told him what had happened. Sekiso said, "I don't say life, I don't say death." Zengen said, "Why don't you?" Sekiso said, "I won't say. I won't say." With these words, Zengen came suddenly to an insight. So I've been presenting this koan for a number of years, and just recently I went into the details of these two episodes, and they actually took place 35 years apart. The first one with Zengen, and then the second one with Sekiso. In the first one, it was the year 835 approximately. We're going way back. So Dogo, the master, was 66 years old, and Zengen, the student, was 28. So quite a difference. And then the second incident took place 35 years later, which was 33 years after Dogo's death. So the master died 2 years after the initial encounter. And then Zengen, when he finally gets it, you could say, he was 61 at that point. So I just came upon these details just a couple of days ago, and it kind of popped for me because I started my Zen practice in my late 20s, just like Zengen. He was 28, and I just turned 60, which is how old Zengen is in the second part. Dogo has or Zengen rather, he has a nice recognition of his teacher, which I'll share later in the talk. So there's something here for us. There's something here for us as Maitreya Abbey comes to an end. There's something here for us. So this is the question of the Bardo, right? The formal Bardo. Is this life or is this death? What has gone on? What has happened with this corpse? I use this koan at a annual training that I'm on the faculty of. It's called the Cause to Pause Contemplative Caregiving Training. It's done at Willow Farm Contemplative Center, not far from here. And they train end-of-life caregivers primarily in contemplative caregiving, but it's also for all of those who are interested in exploring that terrain of grief and end-of-life for family members or oneself, to really bring home and bring forth the wisdom of death, to bring the wisdom of death into our lived life. So I present this as the first in a 5-day workshop. Susan, who runs it, wants the formal Zen to be the first session in the 5-day workshop. So I always go first, and I present this koan towards the end of my session. It's a pretty deep one, but what I really want to just people to spark their imagination, if you will, because not all of them have practices, certainly not as deep as most people here, but to spark their minds that life and death aren't what we think they are. That perhaps we need to be more attentive to the death in life and the life in death as we understand it. And maybe there is something continuous between them that puts a lie to this view that they're separate. Trungpa says the continuity of the in-between. Bardo experiences are not transformations of your life, they are continuity. And that continuity takes the shape both of highlights and of ordinary situations as well. Breath, step, anger, followed by sadness, followed by hunger, followed by neutrality. Ordinary situations. So Zengen's reaction in this koan is kind of interesting, right? I mean, can you imagine being so urgently in need of an answer to this question that you hit your teacher because he won't tell you? Not so skillful means, I could say, on Zengen's part. And in fact, this is kind of sad, but when he does actually hit Dogo, and Dogo is afraid that the other monks back at the monastery, when they find out that they're going to get mad at Zengen and kick him out. So Dogo actually said, you need to leave. He kicked him out of the monastery, not because he hit him, but because he was afraid the other monks wouldn't understand. Kind of sad. I wonder, and then it took him 35 years, to have an insight, to get it, If he could have just held off on the violence, and gone back and, you think, but so we have to make the most of our opportunities. But Zengen was really exercised, right? He must have felt he was going crazy. And that is what we feel. We can feel when we have these in-between states, we can feel like we're going crazy. Bardos can be very uncomfortable. Could feel a little bit insane. Because we've got these mixtures, alive and dead, happy and sad, abundant and lacking, powerless and powerful, confused and clear, sane and insane. Might you enter into these places in your zazen? If so, this is a peak Bardo experience. It can be very uncomfortable, so we tend to try to then move away from it, get clarity. This can't be it. It's got to feel this way. It's got to be aha. It's got to be calm, settled, clear. Here's some things from Trungpa's Transcending Madness. It's about 3 or 4 short paragraphs. I just like to share them and just get a sense for his teaching here. And I will say he's really, there's these mixed states that we're talking about, and the kind of the primary one that he works with is sanity and insanity. Those are kind of his terms, which I think is really powerful. That might not resonate with you, but I offer it to you as something to take in, and it doesn't have to be all about that. This very faint line between sanity and insanity is a very profound teaching in regard to the experience of Bardo and Buddhist teachings in general. The subtleties of awakeness are exactly the same as the subtleties of sleepiness or confusion. The possibility of 2 experiences coming at the same time, both confused and awake. In fact, that seems to be the whole idea of Bardo altogether, being in no man's land, experiencing both at the same time. Such Bardo experiences happen all the time with us. We don't have to have a peak experience or a dramatic experience. In ordinary everyday situations as well, we're not quite certain whether we are learning something or whether we are missing something. This experience is very common and very obvious. The whole point I'm trying to make is that Bardo experience is a peak experience where you are not quite certain whether you have completely gone mad or you are just about to receive something. That particular peak point is the Bardo experience. And then this. The Bardo experience can't be resolved unless there is training. Without lifelong training in the practice of meditation and in accordance with the practice of meditation, putting the skillful actions of a bodhisattva into practice, you can't have a complete Bardo experience. It's our Zazen practice that gives us the container for a Bardo experience, the container of our heart mind. It's our natural inclination to repress the strangeness of this experience. We want to make sense of things. It's automatic. The ego wants to be the continuity. Ah, I understand. This is what it is. This is what's going on. This is who that person is. This is who I am. If you ask a Zen teacher to make sense of something for you, they'll do something to make you more confused. The Zen teacher Bansho said, genuine teachers of the way never limit students to the sphere of reality. Session is a lab for us to magnify our body-mind activity, our mental activity, so that we can bring our awareness alive. So what we put into the practice, our practice gives back to us. We take care of the practice, and then our practice takes care of us. The taking care of our practice means we're present moment by moment with our breath, with our koan, with our body. We don't push away unpleasant thoughts or feelings. We don't pull pleasant ones towards us, fantasies. So really surrender in this session. Okay, we all have a tendency to contrive a good experience for ourselves, to manage the experience of session. And like Roshi said in his introductory remarks, right from the beginning, throw yourself in. You can notice your inclinations to manage it. That's quite natural. If I have a tea at this point, then the next sitting is going to be really good. Or if I have a coffee just like this, then I'll be really awake at this time. Don't do any of this management. Don't gut it out. Be open to everything. Then when you're really open, it shifts because it's always shifting. So you might ask, what was the difference between Zengen's experience at the beginning and then his experience, 35 years later? Well, I think we can say 35 years of Zen practice. That was the difference. It wasn't that Sekiso said it in a certain way and Dogo didn't say it right. So really be present with yourself in your zazen. Allow the uncomfortable things to come up, the strange things to come up. We have these defense mechanisms that are actually kind of coded into our bodies. We lean away from the uncomfortable things. That's why our posture is so important. We neither lean into or lean back from. We're grounded, accepting everything. The best thing, maybe the most essential thing in order to interrupt our habit patterns is to slow down. Right? This just holds for all of our habit patterns, is to slow down. When we slow down, we start to see how we want to go faster, or we want to go in a certain way. And we unhook from our tendency to do so. And it's really wonderful when we do this, because we see that when we're at our accelerated pace, that we're really not letting other things go at their pace either. Everything has to go at our pace. Everything's got to go according to our script written into our bodies. But when we slow down, we break that script, and then we see, oh, everything else is going at its own pace. And I can let that be. I can let water travel at its own pace. I can let food cook at its own pace. I can let animals do what they do at their own pace. I can let the other people in session do what they do at their own pace. We become more allowing and more heartful. We have to be radically open in this practice. On the cushion, accept all difficult emotions, even welcome them. They're the juice. They're the juice of your practice. Your posture is the vehicle, your body. And the emotions are the juice, they're the fuel. Don't mistake the fuel for the vehicle. Getting all wrapped up in managing the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts. Those are just the fuel. But you have to hold them within your practice, the body, mind of your practice, of your form, in such a way that it becomes like a nuclear power plant, or a little nuclear power plant. And these emotions are like uranium or plutonium. I get those mixed up. And then the practice does what it does, just cause these energetic releases, empowers your awareness. Don't apply labels to anything. Don't fix on anything. Just be exactly as you are, especially if it's confused. Trungpa, he was asked in the course of these teachings on the Bardo, well, what do you do when you get confused? He said, I try to be more confused. And Joshu, Master Joshu, you might have heard, said, I do not abide in clarity. So when we practice with these difficult conditions, the confusion, the instability, the insanity, the anxiety of our bardos, then it shifts and it turns into something different. It turns into a dream. Reality is no longer as we normatively understand it to be. Things lose their edges. Things are less fixed. things are more multivalent, more mysteriously meaningful. The great 8th century Tibetan sage Padmasambhava said, when there is no distinction between dream and the waking state, then perfect meditation is realized. So as we get deeper and deeper into sesshin, this quality will come alive for all of us more and more. I want to conclude with the final part of the koan with Dogo and Zengen. This is after he has his awakening with Sekiso. It doesn't say how much longer, but one day. Zengen took a hoe and walked in the Dharma hall from east to west and west to east. I think maybe monks were sitting in zazen while he was doing this. Sekiso said, "What are you doing?" Zengen said, "I'm seeking the sacred bones of the late master." Dogo. Sekiso said, "Giant billows far and wide, white caps swelling up to heaven. What sort of sacred bones of your late master are you searching for?" Zengen said, "That was very good for me in order to gain understanding." And then a later commentary said, "The sacred bones of the late master are still there." And Zengen was extremely grateful for Dogo's teaching way back in the day. And he went looking for him present in the Zendo 35 years later. Taigen Fu said, "The sacred bones are still there." So was Dogo present? I say yes, he was present. So the Roshi's teachings move on to a new incarnation, this abbey and this practice space changes and moves on, and we all move on to other places, other forms. And may we find ourselves in another practice space, in another Zendo, years hence, and we see the Roshis gleaming out of muddy boots, candlelight. So we're just getting really rolling with this session. I hope this talk has been encouraging and something positive for you, and appreciate all of your practice during this session, and may we enjoy the rest of our session together. Thank you.